العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين ثم الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المكرمين المنتجبين لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى قيام يوم الدين. For the hastening and the return of our Imam, let's recite the salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The events in Karbala on the day of Ashura were very troublesome, very difficult. I generally try to remind myself and brothers and sisters every now and then that no matter what we do in our experience of the commemoration of Muharram or other times of the year, but we mainly focus on this in the month of Muharram, we try to depict a picture of what happened in Karbala. Every night you hear a piece of what happened between the Fajr of Ashura until the afternoon, the Asr time of Ashura. Small incidents, this happened, Imam Hussein saw this, he took his child, he gave permission to Ali, and like all these different things, we hear them. We try to picture them. Sometimes there's in certain cultures, they try to play it. They put it in the form of a play for people to have some imagery to see something like it. No matter which one of these we do and how much we spend time on it, brothers and sisters, we really cannot get the depth of the grief, the sorrow, the hardship, the difficulty of the Ahlul Bayt, or the difficulty Imam al-Hussein went through. Honestly, we can't. This is not an exaggeration. I'm not exaggerating here. We can't understand the complete conditions if we were to talk about only in words, to describe all of the conditions surrounding. For example, a couple years ago it hit me, and we have these epiphanies every now and then. We realize something that for many years we didn't realize, about something maybe we've heard so many times. But to understand that a people that were your followers, they sent letters to you, they wanted you to come, they said very nice words to you, are now the ones who are there to kill you and are happy about it. In some of the scenes it says they would do hal-hala. It's a cheer. If you think the enemy does that to you, it's one thing. If we are here together, brothers and sisters, right? We're all friends, we're all brothers, sisters. If I have to do something, God forbid, that you people who know me, we've spent time, we've chatted together, we've smiled together, we've laughed together. Now you turn around and are walking around me, cheering the one who stabs me. How would that feel? Or put yourself in that situation. You think of that, all these friends around you that know you, not others that don't know you. Not the feds, not the non-Muslims, not even the ones who are Muslim and even Shia that don't know you. The ones that know you, you spent time with them and they cheered you. They respect, and not only that, they told you to come here and now they have come and are surrounding you for something not wrong that you did, something very good that you're doing. These people are the ones who are coming to you and are stabbing you. I remember the story. They say there was this arif. In books of history, of course, what I found at least, it wasn't that he wasn't revered. He's known as the Hallaj. His name was Hallaj. He reached a level in understanding of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he saw nothing but Allah, and he saw that he is nothing himself. He worded it like this, that Ana Allah. He didn't mean I am. There is no I. That's what he meant. But the way he put it, Muslims understood it as kufr. He's saying I'm God. That's not what he was saying. Anyhow, so they set up a court and they sentenced him to death. He's a kafir, he's a murtad. He's sentenced to death. People gathered. People are throwing stones at him. This is the way it's depicted, of course. I don't know how historically accurate it is. It's for us to understand a point here. They say one of the students of Hallaj was there. Everybody else was throwing stones at Hallaj. This student threw a flower at him. Hallaj said that flower was most painful. It's a flower you're throwing, but you participating there is more painful than any stone coming. This is because you're so you know me. Just think about this one aspect. The generals of the army of Umar ibn Sa'ad, the army of Yazid led by Umar ibn Sa'ad, the army of Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad led by these people. The generals were people that sent repeated messages to the Imam to come. And that wasn't just at that point. They knew the Imam. The Imam knew them. And when you have an experience that's slightly like that, people that were around you, they're the ones who stab you in the back. The pain of that. This is only one aspect. There's so much more. So much more. There were a lot of troubles, difficulties that Imam al-Hussein salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi went through on the day of Ashura in Karbala. What I want to talk about tonight is how Imam al-Hussein was able to stand through all of this, all the way to the end, to the last breath. This is important. It's necessary for us to understand this. We want to learn from our Imam. If we want to follow Imam al-Hujjah Ajjalallah Ta'ala Farajahu al-Sharif, وَرُوحِي لَهُ الْفِدَى, if we want to follow him, the closer we try to follow him, the closer you try to follow Imam al-Hussein, the more trouble you're asking for. This is not me saying this or through some analysis from... No, it's just simply a hadith that we have. It says, the people that received most calamities in this life are the Anbiya and the A'imma, and then after them, whoever resembles them most. So if you're trying to be like them, if you're trying to follow them closer and closer, you want to catch up with them, you want to close the gap as much as you can, as we are supposed to, we need to know if we do that, then all those troubles, one way or another, are going to come our way. One way or another. Not all of the Imams faced what happened in Karbala. If we were to talk about Imam al-Mushtabah, it's arguable that the difficulties he faced in the context of the treaty with Muawiyah, all the way until his Shahada, 10 years, that was a gradual death that is arguably more painful than a one-day event like Karbala. Okay. Imam Zayn al-Abidin's struggle, he went through his own. Karbala to us is something we can see easier the pain of and the troubles of. It doesn't mean the other Imams didn't go through it. Imam al-Qadim salamullahi alayhi, just hearing the conditions he was in the prisons, in the dungeons of Baghdad, how low below the ground he was kept, what type of conditions that he could barely sit. And his oxygen, just because of, those who are from that area, they know that there's a lot of moisture. If you dig deep enough, you get to water. So you go below ground, it gets damp. And that, if you stay there for a prolonged period, even your bones start aching. There's not as much air as outside. And then covering the top, keeping him in almost a tiny hole he can barely sit. And then covering the top where there's barely enough space, about that big. Some of the depictions that we have heard from ulama, from those who have studied it, I haven't read that text particularly myself. A small tiny hole to breathe in. We don't know how long he's kept in that, beside all the chains. These things we hear, it doesn't click as much as what happened in Karbala. All the Imams went through the struggle. So if we're trying to become similar to them, we want to follow them, we want to get closer to them, it's going to come our way, one way or another. One way or another. So it's important for us to understand, okay, once it comes, how do you continue? This is my point. It's not just bearing it. So there's a time where you did something good, there's a consequence, or something painful comes your way, and it's not under your control. It's not under your control. You did something good, then people are going to say things, or you just take it. Let's just assume there's nothing else you need to do. It's just taking it. You did something good, the enemies of God came, like many of the ulama, we shot them. There's nothing that you need to do. That's done. Okay. The issue with, if you look at Karbala and the Imams, the struggle, it continues. Like, it's not like one painful thing happens and then it's over. Like, okay, that's done. Now I don't. It's continuing through a path that it's just going to get more difficult. It's going to get more difficult. There's a time, again, you don't know that. Like, okay, let's go through this. Inshallah, it will get easier, and then it gets harder. You didn't expect it to get more difficult, but it so happened. Okay? But there's a time where if I take this step, which I'm sure is right, if I do that, this is going to have consequences. And then I will probably have to do something else, and that's going to make things worse. It's just going to get more and more and more difficult. Thing is, let's say you take that first step, you make that first correct decision that has some negative, difficult, troublesome consequence. Then the next one comes, it's another battle. How are you going to have the energy to keep going? Imam Hussein, when he started that journey, this is again where we start that history. It's not where it started. The Imam of Imam Hussein did not start, but let's start from there. Or he's not going to pledge allegiance to Yazid. He's going to have to leave the comfort of his home in Medina. Right? It's difficult. He leaves, he goes to Mecca, he spends some time there. He knows, however, from the beginning, this is not the end of it. They're not going to give up. He speaks to people and so on and so forth. People abandon him. That's difficult, right? If I were to sit here and talk to you about something important, one by one, you guys get up and leave. How do I feel? Put yourself in that position. You're giving a lecture to people, one by one, people start leaving. You have to continue going with that passion. I, as a speaker, continue. If one can tell you from experience, if I see one person leaving, I start having doubts. Should I continue this? Is this even worth it? Second person, third person, fourth, fifth. I speak about something once, everybody rejects it. Next crowd, speak about it again. Nobody comes forward. Will I have the energy to keep going at it? I tell you from experience, very difficult. If I go to a community, first session, no reception. I only hear complaints. Nobody likes it. Nobody likes to hear that material. One way or another, through their facial expressions, notes that come afterwards, messages. I've been to a community. I was at a community. After the first speech, everybody's just looking at me. No facial expressions, expressionless. I have no idea what these people are thinking. And then messages start coming. Shaykh, why did you mention it like this? Can you do it like this? Why not like that? All this criticism is coming. It's difficult for me to go and speak the second session. You do the second speech, and then again, whoever's sitting there, they're sitting there, but the expression on their face, you can't really read it. Are they, what's going on? And then all the messages you get are all negative. Right? Third night, it gets really difficult. It just lets you know. I had to cry the day for the third ibadah. Allah, help me. I don't know. If we're doing something wrong, if there's something wrong with what we're saying, you help, you guide. And if it is the right thing for me to do, then give me energy, give me courage, give me that ability to continue. It's difficult. Imam al-Hussein in Mecca for all those months between Rajab and Dhul Hajjah, he speaks to people. People were coming gradually, trickling in for Hajj. What's the response? Not much. Letters are coming from Kufa, and that's something that's set up by the Imam. I've mentioned this before. And he sends his cousin, Muslim ibn Aqil, a messenger to Basra. Then he starts moving, because why? Because in Mecca, in Haramullah, that animals are not to be killed. Insects have security. The grandson of the Prophet is not feeling he's given that security. They're going to kill him. That's why he leaves the Haram on that day. Otherwise he would have completed his Hajj. But he continues. Receives the news of Muslim ibn Aqil, continues. Hur comes, continues. In Karbala, the numbers start gathering. People leave him. Continues. The day of Ashura, the way these people attacked, the way they killed, the way they cheered each other, every one of those is enough to just make you fall, not have any energy whatsoever. What is it that Sayyid al-Shuhada, salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi, is able to continue to the end with this energy that he has? Allahu Akbar. Go back with this approach, with this understanding, trying to understand this part of it, what's going on internally. All this damage is not physical. This is besides the thirst. This is all internal. We deal with a lot more of that. And that's what causes us to change our decisions. That's what causes us to turn from the path of Allah. Imam al-Hussein, besides all of the thirst and the physical injuries that started coming, he has all this that's not happening just on the day of Ashura, but it's something that's been happening for months now. And it's just getting worse and worse and worse and worse. I don't know if you've ever felt the feeling of this term, ghurba, okay? Being left alone. Have we felt that? You know what it does to you when you feel like that? When people abandon you? But Hussein, subhanAllah, he continued all the way to the end with an energy. If you heard the Masa'ib last night, they said don't let water get to Hussein, because if he gets that water, none of you will remain here. He's a 60-year-old man. Who's 60 here? How much energy does this man have? They were not afraid of even Abbas the way they were afraid of Hussein ibn Ali salamullah wa salawatuhu alayhi. This is not an exaggeration here. How can you do that? You have to be very strong from within to be able to do that. We want to learn this from Imam al-Hussein. What is it? There's different ways that this can be worded. Different ways that the Quran has explained this to us. I'll mention one Quranic reference And then I will use the words of Sayyid al-Shuhada, Salamullah alayhi, in his most difficult moments, where it's the height of all of that. And I'll describe that scene that he's mentioned these words, that we want to learn. What is it that gives this man this energy? No matter what happens, he continues doing what he needs to the last breath. The Quranic term that we have, the Quranic teaching, is called tawakkul ala Allah. Tawakkul ala Allah. Relying on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A person who relies on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it doesn't matter what happens, who abandons, what they do to you emotionally, psychologically, physically. If your reliance is actually on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, mountains can be moved, but you won't be moved. No one can move you. Unfortunately, this term, tawakkul, has been lowered, the meaning of it, to where we're like, okay, inshallah, we will rely on Allah and we'll do it. This is not tawakkul. It's not tawakkul. وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَلْيَتَوَكَّلِ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ, or وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَلْيَتَوَكَّلِ الْمُتَوَكِّلُونَ. Each of them has a certain meaning. But the first part of it, عَلَى اللَّهِ فَلْيَتَوَكَّلِ. Only on Allah you should rely. When we say, inshallah, we'll rely on Allah and let's move forward, let's do it, we say that, we're not relying on Allah. As the verse said, عَلَى اللَّهِ فَلْيَتَوَكَّلِ. Only on Allah. When you're doing tawakkul, it means you're not relying on anything else. You're not relying on your own strength. You're not relying on your friends. You're not relying on your family members. You're not relying on your intelligence. You're not relying on government. You're not relying on anything, on money, on whatever, you name it. You're not relying on anything. That means if everything is taken, everything that we can see, all the people, not just any people, your best friends, your brother, Imam Hussein's brother abandoned him, Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah. He left him, he didn't come. His cousin, the husband of Zainab, salamullahi alayha, there are different opinions about why that happened. To me, it's crystal clear. He should have gone, he didn't go. He's in trouble. It doesn't matter who you are. But these are close relatives. They abandoned Imam al-Hussein. So what? Was he relying on them? The problem that we have is these connections, these limitations that are caused by reliances. We rely on these things. We rely on our work for our sustenance. When we're doing the right thing, once we see that threatened, once we see that being shot down, or even the threat of it, we're like, okay,